Fist of Guthix was a safe PvP minigame with no requirements to play, although a higher combat level helped dramatically. Within the minigame area, you're assigned a single opponent to verse, and you're given a role of either a hunter or being hunted. As the hunter role, the idea was to kill your opponent as fast as possible. Upon entry, you were given 1000 elemental and 300 catalytic runes. The elemental runes are air, water, earth, and fire runes, and the catalytic runes count as every other rune apart from those elemental ones, including things like blood, soul, or body runes. This meant you could use any combat spell, including entangle or vulnerability, and ones on other spellbooks like ice barrage. The XP you received was exactly the same as in the main game, making it a very popular magic training method. If Fist of Guthix was to come to old school, this free magic XP could have dramatic effects on the economy and how players train their magic. In old school, it would make sense to have far reduced XP rates, like 20% of the normal XP or even less. The price of magic training, particularly for free-to-play, will be reduced, which really takes away from the feel of the older RuneScape. The other role was being hunted, and there was a lot more strategy involved. The idea as the hunted was you needed to take a power stone from the dispensers on the outskirts of the arena, and holding that stone gave you charges. You received charges faster if you were in the center area of the arena, but of course it was a lot easier for your opponent to find you. Along with the runes, upon entry you were also given 5 bandages and a teleport orb. The bandages are self-explanatory, but the teleport orb can be used once to teleport you straight into the center. Some players would take a stone and instantly go to the center, while others would use the orb as a getaway mechanism, where they would stick to the outskirts until their opponent arrives, then teleport out of their sight. Around the center area there were 4 small houses with teleport portals inside of them. You could only enter these as the hunted role, and as you enter you get damaged, but you become invisible to your opponent. Entering the portal teleported you to a different house or to the outskirts of the arena. For every match of the minigame, the 2 players take turns at both the hunted and hunter role, and the player that gets the most charges by holding the stone wins the game. As the loser, you received 1 to 3 Fist of Guthix tokens, and as the winner, you got at least 4 tokens, which scaled depending on a few factors, like how many charges you got at the end of the match and your overall total level. These reward points could be spent at Reggie's shop, which held mostly combat item rewards, including 3 sets of magic armor, dragonhide coifs, metal gauntlets, spike shields, and the skilling gloves. The 3 sets of magic armor were tradable and were also degradable after 6 hours of combat. There was Druidic, Combat, and Battle Mage, and all of these sets were available to free-to-play. In old school, the best free-to-play magic gear is Wizard Robes, which is unlocked at level 1 magic. Introducing these robes solved the problem of not having many free-to-play magic gear options, which Jagex has spoken about in the past and wanted to solve this through the warding skill. The combat and druidic robes both gave the same attack bonuses, but the combat robes gave defense to the other combat styles. They had the exact requirements to wear as Zerican robes in old school, but the magic attack bonus for the full set of Zerican was 23, which is a fair bit more powerful. The battle mage robes sit in between Infinity and Arums in terms of their effectiveness with magic. Defensively, the battle mage robes gave bonuses similar to steel armor, whereas Arums gave defense bonuses similar to adamant. So these robes were not overpowered by any means, but being available to free-to-play would completely change the best in slot items. It would make sense to make some free-to-play magic robes, although it may take away from the feel of the 2006 version of old school. Each set of robes had its own set effect. A full set of druidic robes increased the accuracy of a bind, entangle, or snare. Combat robes had a 5% chance of saving combat runes when you cast a spell, and battle mage robes turned that to 20%, which would be quite powerful in old school, since a 20% chance of saving your blood and death runes with ancients would be a ridiculous amount of money. The next rewards were dragonhide coifs. All of the coifs required 40 defense to wear, as well as their range level requirement for that d'hide. In old school, we have god d'hide coifs, which are comparable to the black d'hide coif from the minigame. They both have the exact same stats, except a slightly higher defense and a +1 prayer bonus for the god coifs. The green d'hide version was available to free-to-play, and currently the best helmet slot for ranged attack bonus is the regular coif, which gives a +2 ranged attack bonus. Next was the metal gauntlets, and these were also available to free-to-play up until Rune and Dragon were members. These again were degradable and tradable once they were out of charges. The gauntlets were tank gloves that gave a small amount of strength bonus. Dragon gauntlets have a far lower strength bonus than Barrow's gloves, and Barrow's gloves also have a high attack bonuses, unlike the gauntlets. Rune gauntlets, which were free-to-play, could have an effect on the free-to-play PKing within Old School. There are currently no free-to-play gloves that give a strength bonus, but the Rune and Addy gauntlets each gave small strength bonuses. Overall, such a small boost in strength bonus wouldn't have a massive effect on the training side of things, but it would increase the max hits in PvP by at least 1, which would make Pures slightly weaker since they can't access the equipment with a defense level requirement. This effect would be worse if the green D'hide coif was also added. Pures would not be able to wear it, giving main accounts a higher ranged attack bonus advantage. There were 4 spike shields that you could buy, with 2 different types, normal and berserker. Overall, berserker shields were better in all aspects, with a higher strength bonus and higher defense bonus. The best shield you could get was the Rune berserker shield, which gave a +4 strength bonus and double the defensive stats when compared to the dragon defender. The defender though gives very high attack bonuses at the same time. This shield was also available to free to play, and again would affect the best in slot items since no shields in free to play give a strength bonus. The last and probably most controversial rewards from the minigame were the skilling gloves. There were 4 categories: fishing, herblore, runecrafting, and slayer. There were 2 types of fishing ones, one for swordfish and one for shark. For each catch of their corresponding fish, the gloves gave you an extra 100 fishing XP. They held 1000 charges, which meant in total gave a bonus of 100,000 experience. If the sword fishing gloves were added to Old School, it would have huge effects on the best fishing method. The fastest fishing XP in the game is 2-tick sword fishing, which can give 115k XP per hour at high efficiency. Adding the extra 100 XP per swordfish would make this a ridiculously fast fishing training method, probably near 200k per hour, which is unheard of in Old School. The herb gloves came in 4 different types, each with different types of herbs. While wearing the gloves and you got a herb drop from a monster, there's a 50% chance that it will be the herb corresponding to your gloves. I can see this being very useful for Iron Men in Old School, particularly for Avantos, which are used to make super energy, then stamina potions. At Chaos Druids, for example, a huge majority of your drops will become Avantos. The gloves had 100 charges, so they'll give 100 herbs of their type before degrading. Next was the runecrafting gloves, and there were air, water, and earth runecrafting gloves. While wearing them, you got double the normal experience that you'd get for crafting those runes, and they degraded after 1000 essence was used. The 3 rune types are all low-level runes. It wouldn't ever really be used for high-level runecrafting, but the gloves had no requirements to wear, meaning it would greatly speed up your lower-level runecrafting. I'd expect this reward to never come into Old School since it does take away from the prestige of getting to 99 runecrafting. And lastly, there were Dragon Slayer gloves, and while wearing these, you got a 10% Slayer XP boost per kill of a Dragon Slayer task. This was for any Dragon's task, but this still isn't overly powerful since you can't be using other gloves, and also Dragon tasks are fairly slow already.